and handing it over to
No,
Thomas.
no, I meant your introduction.
I know. Do you want me to? I'm Cheryl, and I'm passing it over to Thomas now. Welcome to the recording.
Cool. Thank you, everybody. I'm Thomas Reed. I'm a brown-skinned black man with a smooth shaven bald head, full neat salt and pepper beard, and I'm wearing dark shades and a purple polo-style shirt. And apparently, Cheryl, you and I have somehow coordinated. I don't know how this happens, but it's pretty cool. So I like that. I'm the host and producer of Read My Mind Radio, a podcast pairing narrative storytelling, music, and sound design to introduce listeners to compelling people impacted by all degrees of blindness and disability. And occasionally I share stories from my own experience as a man adjusting to becoming blind as an adult. I'm currently in my vocal booth in my home in the Poconos, which is home of the original land of the Lenape. And also, everyone needs to know that the Poconos in northeastern Pennsylvania is only 90 minutes from the place that I will always call home, and that's the Bronx, New York. And so you know I'm legally obligated to let everyone know of that fact. So that's the real, okay? So we're going to talk a little bit, tell you a little bit about Pod Access. Cheryl said that, she made note that we are both co-founders of Pod Access. And so I think many of you are probably familiar with Alice Wong and the Disability Visibility Project. As the founder and host of that successful podcast and online platform, Alice's mission has always been and is to amplify disabled voices. And that's the root of this project. And you met Cheryl earlier, but allow me to introduce you to my DJ CeeLo.
Who is like way too slow to be a real DJ. But here I go.
It's still a rarity for disabled people to be centered and in conversation with one another. I remember seeing various podcast hubs by people of color such as the Potluck Podcast Collective featuring Asian Americans and podcasts in color, and thought there should be something similar for disabled, chronically ill, deaf, and neurodivergent podcasters.
Podcasting and content creation in general is a means by which the deaf and disabled community can share not only our stories, perspectives, and ideas, but also our creativity. There's even the potential to possibly gain from that work, and that could be financially, politically, socially. Our goal at Pod Access is not only to amplify, but we're here to encourage more voices and bridge the gap between creators and audiences. While Cheryl and I were both already podcasting for some time, we knew that we needed to know more about the barriers that others were facing that precluded them from either starting or continuing their podcasts. So what do? We created and distributed a survey to current, former, and potential deaf and disabled podcasters, asking them about the challenges that they faced in podcasting. As it's also our goal to connect these creators with audiences, we dedicated part of that survey to those interested in content from deaf and disabled creators. Shout out to those people. We received a variety of feedback from those interested in podcasting, so we were aware of, things like accessibility, of course, but even within access needs, we had to make sure that we were considering a wide variety. Go, DJ. That's my DJ. Go, DJ.
Hey, this is Emily. Sorry, we have one more need for an access pause. We're just having some challenges with the way we've set up access to captioning in the space. One moment. Okay, I hope we have fixed it. Let's go. Thank you.
Cool.
There are many reasons why, we haven't exactly got off the ground yet. We recorded But one of the main big reasons is I need someone to help me run the equipment. I need an assistant or two. There's lots of things that I want to do. There's lots of things that I know that I can do. I just need the hands. I just need somebody that has the time because I have all the time in the world.
We decided one of the best ways to both share information about starting a podcast and answer some of the questions that we received from the survey would be through a podcast. The podcast is available today, and it's 11 episodes published in multiple formats for accessibility. We have a podcast with transcripts, we have videos with captions, and videos with ASL. The episodes cover the basics of getting started in podcasting. We discuss topics that you need to consider, including tools for recording, editing, distribution, branding, financing, and honestly, one of the most important that many other people, you won't find it there. They're not talking about it. We are. Scooby Snacks. You need snacks. Okay, so we talk about that. The podcast includes insight from about 10 at that time future or current podcasters, deaf and disabled podcasters. Cheryl and I interviewed all of these folks, and all were willing to share their experiences. All of them are now current or former podcasters. And I say former because that's just the reality. There is pod fading. Today, the automatic doors, which is the entrance to pod access, well, they're waiting for you. They're open. They are ready for you, to welcome you. And of course, I'm talking virtually. We do not have a physical space, but we do have air conditioning. We have lots of natural light and space to fully move around, make you comfortable. And there's lots to do for our first-time visitors. So if you currently have a podcast, you should add your information to our podcast library. This will help audiences find you. If you're someone with a particular set of skills, specifically those suitable for any part of the podcast production process, then you should add your information to our Skillshare library. So I'm really talking about audio, video editors, producers, writers, graphic artists, social media experts, website developers, right? We're envisioning a time where more deaf and disabled creators are hiring each other, collaborating, and working together. Another way to collaborate, when you list your podcast on the library, be sure to check the promo share box to let others know that you're interested in supporting one another by promoting each other's podcasts through your own, by sharing the promo. There's lots of room to share audiences and support one another in podcasting. So you can do all of this at podaccess.net. Finally, even though podcasting has turned into big business, and yes, it seems like everybody and their mama has a podcast, our voices are still widely underrepresented and even more important today. So DJ CeeLo, give him a little ziggy, ziggy, ziggy.
No, you do that part and then I'll do the rest.
Okay. Ziggy, ziggy, ziggy.
It's the multiplicity. It's the wider range of voices, many of them saying nothing relevant to me or my community. But I think those are the ones that I'm like trying to replace. I would hope that this podcast would reach enough people for people to start having these conversations on their own. It's really important for my voice to be there, but it's even more important for us to listen to all the voices that I bring forth with me too.
I have a space in the world, and I want to contribute that to my guests, to my audience, so they can feel they have a space for themselves in the world.
Yeah. The early days of podcasting, similar to the internet in general, was said to offer anyone an opportunity to have their voice heard. For a quick second, it was said that the days of gatekeepers and expensive startup costs were gone. With relative ease, anyone could share their creativity, thoughts, and opinions with the world. But of course, there's capitalism.
Isn't there ever? Corporations got involved and a lot of that changed. Launching a podcast became more about an entrepreneurial venture. But there are still lots of reasons to start a podcast. In fact, there are many different types of podcasts one could start. And Thomas and I now want to talk about some reasons for starting a podcast and identifying what to consider before you start. For instance, there's Thomas's microphone. Good thing to consider before starting your podcast. We thought it would be interesting and fun to do this in the style of two different types of podcasts that you're probably already familiar with, and that is the chatcast and narrative.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Read My Mind Radio. I'm your host and producer, Thomas Reed. Have you ever considered how often people put you in what they decide is, quote, your place? Not physically, of course. I'm talking about the way people project their ideas of who you are onto you, according to how they perceive you, based on your voice, your appearance, maybe even your career. Some might call that pigeonholing. Up next, I'll speak with the host of the podcast, Pigeonhole, to find out more about how she produces her podcast and what we can learn from her experiences. Read. This is my intro, y'all. My mind. Radio.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Green, and I'm the host of Pigeonhole.
As this episode is all about podcasting, I had to begin with the origin story. Not Cheryl's, but rather her podcast, Pigeonhole.
I started a streaming radio show around 2012 on the Brain Injury Radio Network. It's a platform where people with brain injuries hosted call-in shows on the telephone. I did that for a couple years, but I realized I didn't really enjoy long-form chat shows, but I was doing one. I learned about podcasts, downloaded all my radio recordings, and began editing them into podcast format and transcribing them. After a few years of that, I rebranded and launched my current podcast, Pigeonhole.
I thought I knew the reasons for the name, but I decided to ask anyway.
Before my current cat, Ruru, I had a cat named Pigeon, who was a huge positive influence in my life. So the word pigeon carries that personal meaning. In the brain injury media space, people are often pigeonholed into only telling medical or inspirational recovery stories. And I wanted my show to highlight complexity, other perspectives, and other identities.
While Cheryl's podcast isn't pigeonholed into any one particular format, she does have one very solid rule.
No unedited long-form interviews. Sometimes I narrate, sometimes I'm not in the episode at all. I choose the style that best suits the story or the guest.
How do you decide that?
I usually have the concept before approaching a guest. I'll say, hey, here's my idea. Would you like to be part of it? I'll record an interview, but then I'll edit it and shape it into something unique each time.
How do you find guests?
It's mostly friends, acquaintances, or colleagues. Sometimes topics arise in conversation, and I just follow up later.
Community is important to Cheryl. In fact, she says that's her target audience, specifically the disability community. Yet producing the podcast is a solo effort.
Oh, yeah. writing the questions, recording, editing, doing sound design, transcribing, and publishing on my host site, my website, and YouTube. I do it all solo for no pay.
How do you feel about doing everything yourself?
I prefer it that way. I collaborate on other projects. I collaborate with you all the time, Thomas. But this one is mine. The only thing I need help with is generating ideas.
In the early days of Pigeonhole, the ideas were readily available. Cheryl was posting episodes monthly. Today, she posts when she's inspired, so there's no set schedule. Listening to advice from mainstream podcast coaches or other so-called successful podcasters, you get the sense that the only thing that matters are metrics and monetization. Cheryl's not concerned with either. But if she were,
Yeah, I'd produce on a steady schedule like I did in the beginning, but back then I had more energy. I had better health and way more free time.
I couldn't help it. I made Cheryl an offer she just couldn't refuse. $1 million to cover all life expenses. What would she do with her podcast?
I might work less and produce more episodes. I'd definitely hire people to help brainstorm ideas and reach out to guests. I do miss producing regularly. I just don't have any ideas. So if I had ideas as often as I used to, I would release episodes more frequently. For now, it's my personal creative project, and I'm happy with that.
That tells me Cheryl's getting something out of producing the podcast that isn't about how many people listen or subscribe or even support her non-existing Patreon account. And please note, that's no shade to those who are driven by any of that. We all got to eat.
And I love the creative zone, editing, writing narration, finding music and sound effects. It's fulfilling. I feel proud.
Some things to consider as you yourself think about starting your podcast. Podcast format, chat, narrative, other? Are you going this alone or will you benefit from a team? Who's your target audience? How often do you plan on producing? What do you hope to get out of the effort? Fame, fortune, or just fun? Remember, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just best to consider giving this some thought before you get started. Big shout out to Cheryl Green from Pigeonhole and all of the insights she provided just by sharing her experience with podcasting. I appreciate you all listening. You can find Pigeonhole, Pod Access, and Read My Mind Radio wherever you get podcasts. Transcripts and more are available at readmymind.com. Now look, .com. In order to make sure you arrive at the right destination safely, you gotta spell it right. That's R to the E. Cheryl, help me out with this one.
D.
Like my last name. Nice. Peace. Cool. That was fun. That was a little bit of the narrative style. So hopefully you understand and you're not like, these guys are nuts, but we are. It's cool. So we're going to now move into the chatcast style of podcasting where Cheryl is going to talk to me about my podcasting experience, but in a chatcast format.
That's right. We want to model both for y'all today. Thomas.
Hey.
Hey, it's been years since I had you on the podcast. How is your podcast going?
It's cool. I'm still chugging away. Sometimes good, sometimes, you know how it is, Cheryl, as a podcaster.
I know. And it's so hot this summer.
Oh
It's
my
like
God.
getting the vocal booth. It's so hot.
And then I got to turn off my fan on and off, go out, try to get something to drink. And then I start talking to my wife or whatever and say, what you doing? And she's like, I said, what you doing? I said, I'm trying to record. Well, why are you down here? She's like, I don't know. It happens. You know what I'm saying?
It happens. I know what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. I want to go to the basics for a minute. Tell me how you picked the editing software that you use, because you use Reaper, right? I want to
I do.
hear you tell me about what it is you love. What made you pick Reaper?
Well, the fast answer, I won't give you that because we're chilling and we're chatting.
We're chat casting
We're
today.
chatcasting. But the reason I chose Reaper really is because of accessibility. I wasn't using Reaper at first. I was using this other program called Goldwave. And the reason I chose Goldwave because it was accessible. That's what I could use. And obviously that's what I needed. There were other programs available, but Goldwave at the time was the most accessible. But it's different from Reaper. Reaper is a multi-track digital audio workstation where Goldwave is like a single file editor. So just imagine you open up one file and that's all you can edit. Where with Reaper, you can have multiple tracks open and each track has different files on it. And so you could, listening to how your music is going to sound at this one time. Well, you can't do that with a single editor. And then you can put effects here and there and move it around and have plugins and do all sorts of stuff if you wanted to, plus do everything that you could do with that single file editor. So the accessibility of that, when I got access to it, I was really thrilled.
I bet.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, you mentioned sound effects and music, but I'm thinking also, if you're recording your podcast online, like we're doing right now, you want to separate, you want the different voices on different tracks, right? So
Yes.
like when I'm sniffling or coughing or my cat Ruru starts screaming, it doesn't get onto your voice. So like Reaper can help with that, right?
It can, but first of all, if Ruru starts screaming, Ruru needs to be on the podcast. Ruru, that's the official podcast. So he should be on the podcast. But yeah, no, the fact with a multi-track is that yes, you can silence those things out where in a single track, whatever you hear is what you're going to hear when you publish it because you can't really do much around that. Yes. So if Cheryl coughs, if Ruru beeps, then
Which he
yes, I
does.
can, theoretically take it out.
Yeah. I just want to say for all you Ruru lovers out there, follow us on Instagram, the Pod Access, where you can get so much more of Ruru the Podcat.
Yeah, Ruru's a famous one.
He is I take so much inspiration from Ruru. Okay. Wait a minute. Okay, we did audio. That was my thinking noise, but also let's do a celebration. Okay, rolling with it because we're chat casting.
Rolling.
So, Thomas, when you and I did the Pod Access podcast, don't we sound like a commercial for Pod Access? When we did the Pod Access podcast, we also recorded video. What's your setup for recording video?
What you see is what you get. This is it. I got a camera in front of me. Cheryl tells me if I'm centered, and I hit record, and that's it. That's my setup.
Well, that sounds very easy and achievable and probably not too expensive. So any new podcaster who can just grab a webcam can do video for their podcast. Yeah?
Yeah, it is a webcam. I should have mentioned that. It's called Camera A. That's all I know. Camera A.
Camera A. Got it. Okay. Love it. A+ for your camera and A++ for you.
Oh, thanks, Cheryl.
Bad. Did you? I got more questions. I got so many questions for you.
Questions.
Did you make a formal budget before you started producing your show, or do you just sort of buy stuff when you need to buy stuff?
Oh my goodness, that's such a fantastic question. I would
Isn't
love
it?
to say.
I wrote it. I wrote that question. It's a good one. Jackass.
I would love to say that I sat down with my financial planner and my accountant, and we figured out the budget, many spreadsheets, but that did not happen. I looked how much I needed, and it was really an excuse to buy more stuff. I said, I want to start this podcast, so I'm going to need a better microphone. I'm going to need an interface. And fortunately, it started, and I was able to do that. It wasn't that much, but I had the means to do it. But if I was going to do it or recommend that someone else start a podcast, I would tell them to think about these things. Yeah, I absolutely would. But for me, no, it wasn't, and it's still not. I know what I need to afford to do it. It's what we call in the business a passion project, which means you ain't getting no money for it. That's my podcast.
Read
That's
my
what
mind
passion
radio.
project means. Yeah,
Read my mind radio. I ain't getting no money for it.
that's it. That should be my tagline.
Subscribe and follow. Thomas, I could talk to you all day. In fact,
Well, let's go.
this is literally the fourth call that I've been on with you today.
Oh, you are sick of me.
No, it makes it my favorite day of the year. But we are out of time for this here podcast episode. Yeah,
Ooh,
this was fun.
it was fun.
I'm gonna have to have you back on the show
You have
many,
to.
many more times for more. I have so many other questions.
And now it's recorded, so you have to.
Y-
I have proof. You invited me back.
I was going to thank you for joining me, but no.
Okay.
Thank you for joining me on my chat cast today.
Cheryl's Chatcast. That's your theme music?
Yes.
Cool.
Now it is. Yes. So that was really fun, Thomas.
That was fun.
We wanted to bring to life two styles of podcasting for you because it's just sitting around and trying to explain it doesn't make sense. You got to live it. So you got to hear what you heard Thomas do on his show is very much his actual style of Read My Mind Radio, with music and sound effects, and even Thomas talking to this other Thomas on his shoulder. It's great. But we also hope that you can take some inspiration from hearing a little bit of our beginnings of podcasting. Podcasting is for everyone. If there's anybody here who's hoping to start a podcast, we hope that you will. Yeah, that concludes that portion. Good night. Okay. So right now, Pod Access is mostly the website. Thomas mentioned that, podaccess.net. It's a library of podcasts with air conditioning and power doors. And it's a library, a Skillshare library, like Thomas told you, of people who can work on podcasts, support them. But we are very driven by interdependence and community, not just advertising podcasts, although we like doing that too. So Pod Access is heading much more in that kind of community and interdependence direction. The main thing that we've been doing is consultations with emerging podcasters. And we hope there's some more of you here tonight. We talk to them about how to get their show started, how to build their accessibility practices. And we plan to do a whole lot more of that in the future when we get funding to support it. Hey, all of you philanthropists on the call tonight, let's support more and more emerging deaf and disabled podcasters. So Thomas, you had already mentioned that I do my entire podcast solo, other than coming up with ideas, because I have no ideas. Would you talk a little bit about your thoughts about working as a solo podcaster? Like if you feel like you missed out anything in doing it that way?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, the idea of working with a team, and so I haven't, there's been a couple episodes where I had some folks participate, but in general, it's a solo project. I think the idea of a team, though, goes beyond producing the podcast. So it goes beyond just the production stuff, right? The idea that, yeah, a team would help cut down on the amount of time that it takes to produce because we could divvy up the work. But I think the teams, in addition to that, I think, the idea of having someone to divvy up that work with would be great because there's several aspects of the podcast process that I don't like doing. Like it's a chore for me. And I was like, okay, I got to do this part. It's not the creation of the process, it's not talking with the people, but it's actually like some of the administrative stuff of actually getting it on there just because it's not my thing. And it's a little bit difficult sometimes as a screen reader user, but I can do it, but it takes a lot of concentration. And as you can tell, I don't like to concentrate. No, I'm just joking. So, but no, there's the other things that a team would bring is, ideation, right? So I think about how cool that would be to sit around with this team on a regular basis, like planning out a whole season and just coming up with the ideas and running them by each other and just feeding off of one another. That would be fantastic in my mind. Um, the idea of after an episode or a season being able to sit down with the team and review it and say, hey, what do you think worked with this? As a solo podcast, and podcast in general is so, for the most part, many people are doing it solo, but you don't get that feedback as quickly or as often as you might want it, right? And so to be able to kind of go through that with other people on the team, I think that could be really helpful and really productive, and it'll affect your future episodes. Um, and then there's even just strategy, not so much about the daily episodes, but about maybe promoting your podcast, maybe where you can take the podcast. So just sitting around and talking around strategy, strategizing with other people on the team, that would be really helpful, because again, you might try to do that on your own, but like anything else, whether it be the distraction or it's like, okay, I don't have time for this, we're in gig economy or whatever it is, right? You have other things to do, family obligations, whatever. So just to be able to set that time with some folks and strategize would be great. And then there's just like support, just general support and inspiration, after maybe a season and then you're off, and then maybe you're going to start a new season. Even if you had the idea, sometimes you might be slow to get back. Oh, I'm tired. I don't know if I feel like getting back. I could tell you, and I say this with everything, like after the election, I was just like, I don't even know if I want a podcast anymore. Like things like that. But to be able to have a team that, will encourage each other, that to me, there's a lot of value in there. And so if I was to be able to go back in time and think about it, I think those are all of the things that would make me really push to try to create a team from the beginning for me.
Yeah, I like that. And it sounds like some of those team members don't have to be podcasters, right? There's so many parts of the conversation you can talk about. I also hate the admin stuff. And y'all, when you go to Instagram, excuse me, IG, when you go to
So
to
cool.
the Insta, the Pod Access on the Insta, you'll see that we almost never post anything. I don't remember to post, and I hate posting on social media. You can hear all about that on the Pod Access podcast as well,
Yeah,
and
we're honest.
snacks. uh, we want to do something a little more interactive now, but all on the same theme of collaboration and conversation, bouncing ideas off of each other. And that is that podcasting is not just about the technical parts, the recording, editing, and distributing and social mediaizing. It's also about the story you want to tell and the vibe that you want to promote. So it's one thing to say about a podcast, oh, that's my favorite show. It's another thing to be able to say why it's your favorite show. Like, can you explain what is it about that show that you love so much? Or what is it about the way that show makes you feel? And we bring this up because you can take that as inspiration in making your own podcast. Thomas and I have certainly done that. We didn't just sit inside a vacuum and just start making stuff. We make stuff that we have come across elsewhere with our own spin and our own stories, but the inspiration can come from all sorts of places. And like Thomas was saying, when you're in conversation, you can bounce ideas back and forth, you can give and receive feedback. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into breakout rooms. There's 48 people here. So at first we were like, let's do teams of 2, but we don't want y'all to have to make 24 rooms. So I don't know, 3 or 4 people pop into a breakout room. There's no pressure. This is very relaxed. We're going to go for 10 minutes in your breakout rooms. And at some point, pick somebody If your group wants to share when we come back, pick somebody who will be the share person. No pressure, you don't have to. We do have some questions and prompts, and I'm going to pull those up right now. But you don't have to follow these questions or prompts. Just talk about what you like. But this is a place that we hope, especially if you are an aspiring podcaster, we really hope that you'll look into these kinds of things. So what do you like or not like about the podcasts in your feed? Because I got podcasts in my feed that I don't like. But what is it? Is it the story, the soundscape, the visuals, music, guests? You really like the hosts? You like the style of the show, regardless of if you like the content? Or do you really like the topics? Do you like the writing? I have shows that I like only one of these features. I have shows where I like all of it. Another prompt could be, how do you feel when you check out your favorite podcasts? And why do you think you feel that way? Because I have some shows that I'm like, I don't know why I like this, but I just feel so happy right now. Still can't identify why. And remember that the things that you like or don't like can change over time. The podcasts that can inspire you can change over time. So has your taste in podcasts changed? And the last prompt is, or whatever you want to talk about. We hope you'll talk about some of these things here. So let's have the amazing tech team and host folks make some breakout rooms, and we'll do about 10 minutes.
Okay, so folks, we have teams of 4 to 5 created for these breakout rooms. There are 9 of them. I am going to go ahead and open up the rooms. An important access note, if you need ASL, please stay in this main room. Do not go to the breakout room. Okay? And now I'm going to open up the rooms and we'll time it for 10 minutes and then we'll bring you all back. Thank you, everyone.
So we are a breakout room right here. And we might have a few virtual folks with us still. So I'm going to ask that if you are up for sharing, answering some of their questions, you speak into the microphone. Anybody want to take a stab? Dive in? Awesome. Catalin.
Yeah. So it's like the whole. Okay. Yeah. So hi everyone. I'm Catalin. I like at this point I've been following podcast of this guy whose name is Lex Fridman, and what I liked about it was that I got to learn about um uh, disciplines that I did not get the chance to study, like AI and all those kinds of things. And he's inviting and making lots of, I don't know how to say it, but very like people to people kind of conversation. He's not just treating his uh, guests as just their profession, but as humans. So yeah, that's what I liked about it. And I like the fact that he's going through various subjects. Like at some point, I remember he interviewed or he had as as a guest a historian who I admire quite a lot. At other times, he had psychologists, AI researchers, and all those kinds of things. So yeah, that's why I liked it because I had the chance to get exposed not just to the um, creations like for the historian, like his books, to be able to like read them, but also to like the backstage of it, right? To his like research and him talking about his own writing. Yeah. Thank you.
Who else? Yes.
So there is a podcast that I've been really into. It's a podcast done by Andrea Barber and let's see, what's her name again? Let's see, what's her name again? Let's see, and Jodie Sweetin, and they were on the show called Full House, and they're doing a rewatch podcast where they watch the episodes and then they recap it on the show and they cap it on their podcast, and they also interview people and they interview actors that were on the show too, either actors that had very small parts and they were not on very many episodes, or ones that are on many episodes. And one thing what I like about the podcast is listening to them interviewing the actors and hearing what they've been up to now since they've been off the show. And my favorite part is also when they start analyzing some of the different scenes and trying to figure out analyze some of the different scenes and pointing out some of the things they notice that are consistent with certain characters and stuff. Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else? I can share my answer. I just love the podcast where you get somebody that's just nerding out on something, and then because the audience is self-selected, they are like down for the nerding out. And like some of the best podcasts are like these things where you're like, oh my God, I love this. They love this. Other people would not love this. Like that allows those sort of niche like playfulness. Like obviously what you said of like that, those kind of ones where they go deep dive into a show or a book. If my colleague and co-director was here, she would talk about the Buffy podcast she's been pushing on everyone. So anybody else want to share? Cheryl and Thomas, would you mind sharing your questions one more time?
Yeah, I'm going to pull it up on the screen, and then should I read them out as well?
That'd be great.
Okay, so what do you like or not like about podcasts in your feed, which y'all did? How do you feel when you check out your favorite podcasts? Why do you think you feel that way? And has your taste in podcasts changed?
Hello, everyone. This is Brittany or Britt. I like a lot of like self-help or like learning where I learn something new style podcasts. And I think for what's powerful for me is like really good storytellers, hosts that are engaging, that aren't afraid to go there and get like juicy with it. I love people that are very real too, that can be super authentic. I love like that feeling of like being a fly on the wall or like being in this like intimate in like getting a peek into someone's world. And I think the more intimate, the more real, the more raw, the better. I like things that really sit with me, that make me think, that, yeah, I don't know, that just like give you energy, you know? There's so much power in storytelling and in leaving people with something that sits with them for a while. I love that. Okay.
This is Cheryl. I just want to say you sound like the perfect candidate for a subscriber to Read My Mind Radio.
I'll send her the link later, Cheryl. We'll get her.
Hi, this is Alicia Contreras. And I think one of the things that I really like is the voice of the people. For me, that's like the first attraction. If there's something about some voices are just so attractive, and the laughs. I love podcasts when the laugh is very natural and sincere. Those are my favorite podcasts, I think.
Oh, I've got a great one to recommend for you. Read My Mind Radio. I don't get paid to endorse this show, but truly, Thomas's laugh. Oh my God.
Just pulling up the chat to make sure that no virtual folks are trying to chime in. We'll read aloud if you are. Wrong way. Okay. Yeah, if there are any virtual folks, you can share in the chat or you can share aloud as well. We don't want our in-person room to dominate. And if anybody else in the room would like to share, I am seeing no other requests, so invitation to dominate.
One question I have is the Ruru. I looked on the internet and it found nothing. So I don't know if it could be on the chat.
I'm actually going to hold up Ruru. He's really my cat, and we call him the podcat. Let me just very gently hold him up for you. Let's see if we can get his face. I can't get the light quite on his face. So he's got black fur and incredible long white whiskers, and he's very sad being held up. So put him back down. He's just my cat. So when we do include him in posts on our Substack newsletter and on Instagram, because podcat is such a cute word and people click on pictures of cats. So that's Ruru.
It was a if you know, you know, and now we know.
Ruru does also answer emails, just to let you know. If you ever write to the podcast, the podaccess@gmail.com, you might get a message back from Ruru. So just letting you know.
You'll get an email with a hairball in it. Emily, I think by my timer that was 10 minutes, but
Yep.
Okay.
I am back from the breakout room journey that I've been on. And I'm going to close all the rooms if that's okay with everyone.
Yes, thank you, Shayna.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, they have 60 seconds to come back.
well, that was cool. I really appreciated getting to observe that conversation that y'all had about the podcasts you like and why you like them. That was really neat.
This is Emily. I just have a quick access note. We've had some folks sharing in the chat and we haven't been able to read that aloud. If you want to access that chat, we can always send it to you afterwards. Shoot us an email at access@disabilityculturalcenter.org and we will be able to get that to you. And that's also a subtle reminder to Shayna to please save it as I can't on this conference room computer I'm on.
Definitely.
All right, back to you, Cheryl.
Well, I'm waiting for people to, here they come. Now they're trickling in. I love it that people were waiting for till the last second. So might have been some juicy conversations. Seems like there's still one or two rooms maybe that haven't come back.
Deep conversations
Very.
about podcasts. That's great.
All the folks should be here.
Oh, okay. People left. That's why the number is lower. All right. Hey, thanks everyone for sticking around. I would love for folks to share some of the things you talked about, like what it is you like or don't like about podcasts. If you're not sharing actively, please stay muted if that's possible for you. But otherwise, just you don't have to raise your hand. Just unmute and start sharing with the group some of the things, either the names of the podcasts or what it is that you feel strongly about.
Okay, my name is Jackie Pilgrim, and I'm Cheryl, my goodness, I love you. What you doing? Okay. All right. So in my group, I had Elizabeth and Anaya and Jai, and we talked about podcasts that we liked and we didn't like. So Elizabeth really liked a couple of podcasts. One called Trust Me, which are people doing podcasts about growing up in a cult. And the thing that she really loved about that podcast was that it was given from a lived perspective. So it wasn't people just picking a topic, being curious, and then just like trying to draw information and interest. So she really loved that, the empathy and everything she experienced. And also she came across a crime podcast. And she liked that one because it had interesting stories. Anaya who has her own podcast, and she's kind of like thinking about how she wants to set it up, decided that she wanted to do shorter podcasts, anything from like 5 minutes to 15 minutes. I guess for people who may not have a long attention span, so they can get information quickly and move on, you know? So there are podcasts, there are things about podcasts she generally doesn't like, though. She doesn't like podcasts that basically do things for shock value or that are controversial, like maybe controversial stuff about, gender or that kind of thing. She's just really not into anyone who's just trying to create chaos. As for me, I love information, but I like a variety. So my favorite podcast is This American Life, and I like it because it gives you 3 different stories. I love the host Ira. I've listened to them for years, and I can relate to a lot of the stories, but even the ones I can't relate to, I still find interesting. And so there we go. And Jai, she really enjoyed listening. So we all had a great time. Thank you.
Cool. I think it was Anaya who likes the 5 to 15 minutes. I think Pigeonhole. You should check out Pigeonhole because that is Cheryl's expertise, really zooming into something. And then it's usually about 5 to 15 minutes in most of those episodes. So Pigeonhole, check that one out.
Thanks for the shout out.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you for reporting. And it is so wonderful to see you.
It's so good to see you too, Cheryl. Always.
Hi, my name's Picaro. I use mostly he, him pronouns. In our breakout room, we talked about how having audio only, which was like early podcasts in particular, was a lot less accessible, especially if you are hard of hearing or deaf or have audio processing challenges. And so having short, like 30-second clips on social media with captions makes it a lot more interesting and accessible. And that some podcasts have visual formats as well as transcripts, and that makes it a lot more reachable.
Absolutely. Access. Cool.
Oh, go ahead, Yolanda.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, my group, we talked about something similar. I was with Masuma and Susan, and so I talked about how I'm hard of hearing and that one podcaster I follow who is hard of hearing is on YouTube. And so I thought, well, if, I actually had a podcast, probably I should also do something visual because I really am helped by seeing the face and the mouth shapes, and that context is super helpful for me. And then Masuma and Susan talked about being visually impaired and having like when there's like video content that's not described, having trouble following. And I talked about how I actually have trouble too, because watching comedy shows like Saturday Night Live, anything where they have visual jokes or just they have text on the screen, but I'm reading the captions, so I don't see it. I don't see the visual joke, and I'm like, what's going on? Saturday Night Live, I've started watching twice because I'm like following, and it's the second time that I'm like, okay, I get it now. So I talked about how I'm in Canada and there's a disability TV channel called AMI, and they talk about integrated described video, and that's just inherently in all of their shows. So instead of being like, oh, I'm over here, throw me the ball, it'd be, you'd say something like, I'm at the end of the court, throw me the ball. And it's just super smooth. And I think in podcasting, we all talked about how accessibility is a priority for our disabilities, but also universal design really for everyone, because it all benefits, I think everything benefits everyone. And I'd love to learn more about that. So having more visuals for people like me, having more described video for, people like me as well and for everyone. So I love, yeah, that's kind of where we were at. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And Picaro too, I mean, really common threads here around who gets to have access to the content. And so you got to make it accessible so people have access. And I think you're going to really, the next thing we do after this conversation, I think you're really going to enjoy it because it's going to speak to what y'all were just talking about. It's not This American Life. It speaks more to the access stuff. Anybody else would like to share what came up in your group? This is fascinating. I don't see or hear any responses. Thomas, should we jump into the next thing?
Sure. Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Okay. Just wanted to mention again, the Pod Access does and hopes to in the future do way more consultations for people who want to start a podcast or evolve their podcast in some way or improve their accessibility practices. We do that and we love doing that. I do want to mention, I don't want to forget this at the end. If there's at least one other podcaster in here in the room, if you have a podcast, we want to know what it is. So you should go to podaccess.net and fill out the submission form to join the library, but also let us know. You can email us at thepodaccess@gmail.com. Ruru will read your email. Sometimes he responds. Sometimes it's me or Thomas. Depends on who you write to. Or hit us up on Instagram. We want to know what your show is and where people can find it. And so we can share with the people who registered for this event tonight. Yeah, so the library at podaccess.net, all of the shows are by deaf or disabled podcasters, or at least the majority of the team making them is deaf or disabled people on any topic at all. So that's what you'll find when you go looking there. And yes, please find the submission form at the bottom of the homepage to get listed if you haven't already. And we like sharing trailers and promos on the Insta as well. Thomas, do you want to introduce the next thing we're going to share?
Sure. So even before that, we covered a fair amount about podcasting, I think, today in a relatively short presentation. We talked about types of podcasts, right? Things to consider before starting one, and the importance of determining what you like or don't like, which was this last exercise, which was great. And as you see, everyone has their own personal thing that they like or don't like. So it's personal, and podcasts are personal, right? Not just in the way that they're most commonly consumed, which is alone for the most part, but the reasons for starting a podcast as well are personal. There's no right or wrong. Remember that. There's no right or wrong, but it is important to know where you're going in order to have some idea when you arrive. So what we want to do is to close out with a few of the podcasters that we interviewed for the Pod Access podcast, talking about the void that they strive to fill with their individual podcasts. And at the same time, we want to encourage everyone here to consider what are the gaps that actually remain. Even among the millions of podcasts, how can you fill the space in your unique way? So DJ CeeLo, take us home with the Ziggy Ziggy on the 1 2 1 2.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I'm going to do a little bit of a visual description before I hit play. Starting over. The Pod Access podcast comes in 3 versions: audio and 2 video versions. In one video version, you have me and Thomas's sparkling faces and somehow our every week color coordinated outfits. I don't know how it happens.
I don't know. That's amazing.
Jinx. The other video version is featuring 2 deaf ASL interpreters, and that's what we're going to show you some snippets of now. So it's basically a plain white screen. There's the Pod Access logo, which is the words Pod Access, and pod is over access, and access is kind of leaning like a ramp up to the pod. It's beautiful. Up top, really big, are the 2 interpreters, Janez Smith and Drew Tracy. And they're real big. And then in the bottom corner will be the person who's talking. And I animated some pink and orange lines around them that'll sort of animate as they talk. So you get like a visual cue of the talking. There's open captions. And then the one person who's not down in the corner is Antoine Hunter, because he's speaking and signing. So he's big on the screen. And we've got just under 2 minutes of clips to share with y'all of that podcast. Okay, can you lead me in, Thomas?
DJ CeeLo with the 1s and 2s. Suki, 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 suki.
I think the gap that I was trying to fill is content that helps to demonstrate why centering disability or acknowledging disability even in policies, processes, systems, physical structures makes them better inherently.
The time we started out, we were the only podcast I knew of that was actually created by AAC users themselves.
Isolation is a real thing in the disability community. And particularly when you get into multiculturalism or multi-ethnic communities, isolationism and disability and ableism tend to put people in a space where they don't see themselves, or they feel like they're the only one.
I think it's just really important that we can find a space for our people to speak up, have their own voices. I understand what it's like to not feel like you have a place in the world. I grew up where I felt there was no place, and that I would take myself out from the world. I'm grateful that I didn't take myself out from the world. So life is precious, and I want other people to understand that.
So that is a little bit of a taste of the Pod Access podcast and some of the lovely people who we had as guests on the podcast. And you get a little bit of a taste of some of the accessibility. There's also transcripts with everything too. And we wanted to, now that you got a taste of the different clips in the podcast and have all this discussion, we really wanted to open it up for anything y'all wanted to share. Tell us the name of your podcast or any questions you have.
We have one in the room.
So I have a question about the list that you have on the website about the people that can help you with your podcast. How often is that updated with the correct contact information and if the people and updated so that if someone goes there, they know that these people are still doing this and they know that this is the correct contact information?
I'm glad you asked that. We don't have a regular schedule of updating. We rely on people to reach out, and they have. People fill out an edit submission form and say, hey, I changed the name of my podcast. Please update. And so you were asking about the Skillshare, the people who can be hired to help out. No one has asked for an edit so far. We really are trusting that people will remember to tell us if their contact info changed. If you go to either library and you find that the contact info, it doesn't work, or something is not working on the page, you should let us know and we will investigate and get that corrected.
Yeah, just to add that, our main point there is to connect you, you make the choice of who you want to talk to. And then, it's really, we're just sort of linking people together. And then you guys have a conversation and work out whatever it is that you want to do. But yes, like Cheryl said, if you can't get in touch with the person because of the information that's there, just let us know about that. That's helpful.
There's 2 hands up and I don't know who raised their hand first. So is somebody unmute and let us know what you're thinking.
Hi, this is Masuma.
Hello.
I am from San Francisco and I'm visually impaired. Can you please repeat your website, the one where people can register and learn more?
Sure. So that's pod, POD, access. So all one word, PODACCESS.net.
Thank you. This is very informative and very encouraging, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And we forgot to mention on that website, we also have a reference desk with tons of resources, where to find funding, where to learn more about gear, where to get gear, like so many resources. And if you know of a good podcasting resource that you have that's not on there, send it to us and we will add it.
Can I? Hi, this is Anaya speaking. I had another question. I wrote it in the comments. Um, will there be a summary of what happened in this meeting? I'm just wondering for a place to do podcasting that isn't Spotify or Anchor FM anymore. Just in my opinion, I want to go to more. In my opinion, I'll keep it light. Ethical places to post my podcasts.
Yeah, actually, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, at least for us, we do have, this is being recorded. There is going to be a transcript posted, so we will email that out to all of the attendees.
Yeah, and Anaya, I was going to just say that there is a whole podcast episode on that topic in terms of finding podcast distributors and that route, and some, what to look for, what to think about.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But Thomas, I don't know that episode actually speaks to what Anaya asked about, like ethically run companies. Is that where
no,
you
that's
were?
no. I'm just saying in terms of on the subject of this, different, because she said want to know about others who are out there, and so
Right.
there we do mention some, and yeah, you can. So in terms of what to think about, that's all kind of there. But
Yeah.
no, not specifically around the ethical.
Right. So that's the podcast hosting episode, right?
Yeah.
I really encourage folks to check that out because we're both wearing tuxedos in
Oh,
that
that's right.
episode. I
That's
just
right.
wanted
That's
to throw
worth it
that out there.
alone.
Yeah. Just come for the tuxedos, stay for the content. More questions? Come on off mute. And
Brittany has a question. Brittany, if you could come off mute, or yes.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, this is Maya. I'm actually came in through Brittany's link. Yeah, thank you. This has been so great, and I'm interested. I'm a disability justice organizer and have done a lot of recording with StoryCorps in the past, and I'm interested in learning animation as part of this, partially because or also interested in ways that podcasters alter people's voices, and or if you're doing visual, alter people's images when we're talking about things where our stories or our images we may be in danger to be amplified, but we want to have our experiences be amplified. So, for example, I'm a domestic violence survivor and, was semi-underground for several years and would love to share stories of, disabled folks like myself who survived domestic violence and the shelter system and stuff like that. But I know that a lot of people, including myself, have risks of having our voices be recognized, our names and or our images. But I think our stories and our experiences are really, really important stories to be amplified. So I was curious. I'm thinking of going back to school, to Berkeley Community College, to do an internship at Pixar, specifically to do kind of disability access and ways of amplifying stories while protecting people's identities. So interested to see if you have thoughts on that, specifically from a disability justice.
Wow.
I love that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, certainly on the audio side, editors, and I'm sure Audacity can do it. I don't use Audacity, but it's free. It's free software. I don't think it's screen reader compatible, but
No, it is.
It is? Okay, great.
Yeah, yeah.
So there are all sorts of effects and filters that you can do in with digital audio recordings that really do hide someone's true voice. There's so many ways you can shift the pitch, you can change the speed they're talking at. That's one way. Another way, which, I mean, I have questions about this when I've seen it done, but another way is to document the stories and have somebody else read them aloud or act them. That comes with its own strange, it could be strange, but if it's all consensual and it's all clear at the beginning, this is an actor reading this story or something. You could still have people from the disability community be the story readers, but those are two options for protecting someone's voice. And animation, animation or just putting pictures up, like not even having the people. Although you do lose, like Yolanda was saying, being able to see the face moving as the person speaks. There is software that can obscure faces, or maybe, oh, I hate to say it, AI, make an AI face. Oh, I'm going to stop there because I just recommended AI and I'm going to explode now.
Yeah, the only thing that, well, not the only thing, but one of the things that comes to mind is just, and it doesn't have anything to do with pod access, but it is disability related, that I would point you to. If you go check out, it was just yesterday, it was premiered at Portraits and Portals. So it's portraitsandportals.com. And so this was basically 9 artists were paired with storytellers to tell stories about people of color, disabled people of color, and disaster stories. And one of them was Tyree, who she did. So it involved audio as well as animation. So it was an animated short telling this story. Now I don't know if she was, well, it was an animation, but so I don't know. That may give you some some inspiration, some thoughts, might lead you to some other stuff, because as part of that, the artists were also responsible for sort of talking about the process. And so maybe she mentions her software, I'm not sure, but if you go there, you'll find her page, and she would talk about that stuff probably. So hopefully that can be of help.
Great. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Carrie.
Yeah, sure. I just thought I'd give a shameless plug. I mean, really can't see my shirt. It says Bind Waves. I'm part of a brain injury clubhouse, and we were lucky enough, someone helped us financially get started. But we are a clubhouse of brain injury. We've all had a brain. So like I've had a stroke, so I'm partially paralyzed on the left side. We have traumatic brain injury, brain cancer, all kinds of. So our podcast focuses on brain injury awareness. So we talk to therapists, doctors, chiropractors, psychologists. We do personal stories, whoever we can get on. Again, we're kind of like you, Cheryl. Coming up with ideas gets hard after a while, especially with brain injury. But
we are pretty much 100% member run. So doing the editing, the sound engineering, all of it, which is a lot of fun when you have a all brain injured cast trying to get things done. But it's been fun, near and dear to my heart. But our organization is called Bind Brain Injury Network of Dallas. So we just went with Bind Waves. So like brain waves, but Bind Waves. We are following you on Instagram, and our Instagram is that easy. It's just at Bind Waves. So yeah, I'm gonna try. I think we may be on the Pod Access Net. I think that our staff member she's the one that told me. I missed the original meeting that this was about, and she just sent me this and said you need to sign up and go to this, and I just said okay.
I'm so glad, Carrie. So the original meeting you missed was not about podcasting. I came, two groups, I think Plano and Fort Worth.
Yeah.
My Texas accent comes out when just saying Fort Worth. I'm from Texas.
Oh, good. Yay.
I know it'll come out sometimes. Yeah.
I am born and raised. So.
Yeah. So the Plano and Fort Worth groups watched my documentary film, and then I came on a Zoom and we did like an hour-long conversation about the movie. And at the very end, podcasting came up. So I made a page for y'all on the website, but nobody has actually filled out the form, so it doesn't have much information. So please fill out the form and I will add all the information that you supply. I'm so
I will
glad.
do that. So it's just podaccess.net and fill out the form.
If you go to podaccess.net, there is a link on the side menu, I think, join the library, I think, but there's also a link at the bottom of the homepage to join the library. So just click that, fill it out, and I will merge whatever you supply with what I already put up there. How fun. I'm so glad. I'm so glad Jasmine told you to come.
Yes, and thanks for inviting us. It's been informative, and we just did one today, so I'm tired. It's 8:00, 8:30 here in Texas, so I'm getting, and it's close to my bedtime.
Yeah, I'm on the East Coast. So yeah, I know about bedtimes.
Yeah.
If anyone in the room has a question, you can jump in. They all shook their head no. Never mind. Back to the virtual.
I'd like to, this is Shayna, I would like to read a bit from the chat if that's okay and summarize. And then Cheryl and Thomas, all of you say any closing words and then I'll close us out. But there has been a really, there's been really great conversation and connections being made in the chat. One person has a podcast idea called Don't Talk Down to Me, which I think is an amazing title. Cheryl is clapping her hands for that. Amazing title for someone with a disability to create. There's another person who is going to start a group chat on Instagram for podcast creators and hosts with disabilities, and they may host check-in calls on Zoom depending on folks' interest. There will be a transcript of the chat emailed to everybody who registered today so that you can get in touch with these folks, because people are putting in their Instagram pages, their emails, and just wanting to stay in contact. There has also been chatter around making disability justice podcasts or mental health podcasts in Spanish, which is very much needed. And yeah, there was another person who had a podcast years ago called Black Bipolar Bear that they made in college. So again, just really vibrant conversation being had in the chat. Thank you all for being here so much. And Cheryl and Thomas, do you have anything you want to close us out with?
I just want to say yes to everything that you just said. Like all of those ideas, I want to see these things come to fruition. I want to see more people get together and collaborate, because exactly what was going on in the chat is what I think Pod Access is all about. Like, being able to go through that ideation process and just kind of, see who can do what, break it up between everybody. this is the time. Like this is really the time for our voices. And so let's get them out there. We need more. We need more of our voices out there.
Oh, beautiful. And definitely let us know through Pod Access when you're having those group events so that we can announce it and try to get more people involved. When you do start those podcasts, fill out the form so we can list you. And also, please check out the Skillshare. We don't have very many people have filled out the Skillshare yet, but check that out, because if you need someone to do graphic design or branding, social media, editing, all that stuff, we've got some people listed there.
Can you resend the link? Because I joined late.
Oh, yeah, we hadn't actually typed out the link, but podaccess.net, PODACCESS.net. The pod library is all the podcasts listed, and the Skillshare is all the people who have the skills that you need to produce and distribute your podcast. Anybody here who wants to fill out the form to be in the Skillshare, because you've got a skill you want to share, please fill out the form and we will publish those all, and you can take screenshots and share on the Insta. I'm just so excited. I'm absolutely delighted by the conversation that happened, and the interests that people shared. What you like about podcasts, and what you're looking for, what you're hungry for. This was wonderful. Thank you so much for having us. We love the Disability Cultural Center.
And you see how Cheryl brought it back to snacks?
Did I? What did I say?
You said you hunger for it.
Hunger, yes. Well, listen, I am on Pacific time, so it is past my dinner time, and then bedtime is right after that. I do want to shout out again the wonderful pod mama, Alice Wong, who had the idea and got the initial funding and brought in me and Thomas, trusted us with Pod Access. If you haven't somehow checked out her podcast, the Disability Visibility Podcast, 100 episodes, audio and transcript, please go to disabilityvisibility.com and I think /podcast-2, and you can get all 100 episodes. There's a guide that's got a list of every episode, the guests, and a summary. So you don't have to click on every link. You could just go to the summary and find amazing people to follow. And it's a great show. And we love you, Alice Wong.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. And we love you both, Cheryl and Thomas. I would like Emily. Emily, would you like to say a couple of words before we wrap up?
Just one final access note. I know that there are some folks in our room and some folks who can't access chat when it's happening. A lot of people were sharing their own Instagram or emails. If you want to be part of that list when we share it with everyone who is here, it's not too late. You can send us your email, your whatever you want to plug, your podcast that you're running at access@disabilityculturalcenter.org. And we'll make sure it's part of the chat that we share with everyone today. Now, over to you, Shayna, for the final words. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I just typed the email, but I misspelled org. So please keep that in mind. Folks in chat, let me actually fix it. Okay, there is our email if anybody wants to send us anything. Everyone, thank you so much. Cheryl and Thomas, I'm going to leave you here spotlight with me because you both are amazing. To continue this conversation, please check out the DCC Discord. You'll find this program under our events channel. I'm going to go ahead and post the Discord link in the chat. Again, this will all be emailed out to you if you cannot access chat. We also have a bunch of upcoming events, including Cafe Crip Science Fiction, which is tomorrow at 12 p.m. Pacific, and a book event for I Spastic, the autobiography of Neil Marcus, which is next Thursday. We're dropping the link to our link tree in the chat. It is dcc.page/links. This is where you can find out more, sign up for our newsletter, and follow us. Today's program was presented to you by the Disability Cultural Center and Pod Access. The San Francisco Disability Cultural Center is run by the L.C. and Lily Cox Haven of Hope with financial contributions from the City of San Francisco's Human Services Agencies, Department of Disability and Aging Services, which make the DCC possible. So once again, thank you to Cheryl, Thomas, and our entire Access team for making this a truly, truly great event. And thank you to all of you for being here with us. We will see you very soon. All right.